Jennifer Smith's silence about her husband's disappearance from their honeymoon cruise is starting to raise some suspicion, but people who know her say they've never seen a happier bride-to-be.
You could just see the smile radiating on her face that she was very, very happy to step forward in the marital situation. She was looking forward to, a happy life, being married to George. She was just, happy to be that she had found somebody who she was going to be able to be with for the rest of their lives.
Well, Current Affairs spoke in depth to friends and neighbors of Jennifer Smith. Host Tim Green has all details, and maritime lawyer Charles Lipcon has handled cruise line cases for about 30 years. And also with us, retired FBI agent Candace DeLong. Tim, you guys have been all over this story. The Friends family, the people in Connecticut say way off base if you're looking at Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I actually like Charles Lipcon's theory. We talked about it in depth on A Current Affair tonight. I know he's here with us now, but that they were possibly given date rape drugs, both the husband and the wife. That seems the most credible thing to me. It doesn't seem credible to me that a woman her size could get a guy his size over a 4-foot railing. It just, especially in the intoxicated state that she was in.
What would be the purpose? We've heard rumors about money in the room safe. We've heard rumors about casino gambling, but there's got to be some sort of speculation about why people would do this.
Well, as you know, attorneys, we have to be careful how we speculate, and there are a lot of legal ramifications.
You can speculate at will as long as you're not pointing fingers.
Right, but I would say this. I would say that it is known that some young men were questioned in an alleged rape on that cruise ship in Italy.
Some other women.
Another woman alleged that she was sexually assaulted. Right. Italian newspapers reported that those 5 young men produced 3, not 1, but 3 videotapes that they looked at and exonerated those men based on the fact that they said the sex in those tapes was consensual. Now, when I spoke with Charles Lipcon earlier, and we were talking about this whole drug theory and the date rape theory, I said, well, is that the same kind of drug that might make a woman who was not willing to look like she was consensual? And he said, yeah, that's the same kind of thing. So who knows? I mean, in theory, maybe there's a pattern here. Maybe this young couple was drugged, and then maybe that other person was drugged, and who knows? If there's one person or there's a couple of people being drugged, maybe one person or one group of people did the same drugging.
All right, what about all the various stories we're hearing? 3 Russians that took him back to the room when he was really loaded, versus the guy in the room next door that said Cleet. What was Cleet's last name?
Cleet Hyman, yeah, deputy.
That said he thought he heard Spanish in the other room.
Yeah.
Are we getting more information that's starting to tie down? Because there have to be video cameras around. We have to have some tracing of the movements of these people.
The way I understand it, there aren't video cameras around, and that's one of the things that again, Charles Lipcon, who's sitting here with us, talking with us, has talked about that cruise ships should do. They should have video cameras in these passageways so that you can prevent things like this.
Or maybe you don't want them there because then you can show what's going on.
I'll tell you, I mean, the fact of the matter is, no matter what happens and how it happens on these cruise ships, you have jurisdictional issues, you have venue for prosecution issues that have to be negotiated internationally. So it really is a mess, and it's a difficult kettle of fish for the FBI when you've got crime scene that's not, that's been sanitized. You've got witnesses scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why, if you were the investigating authority, you would want this thing to just leave you alone.
Go away. Well, before I get to Charles on that, Candace, what do you think about this? Because Tim's saying that maybe she's completely innocent, had absolutely nothing to do with this. We're barking up the wrong tree.
Well, I have a number of questions I would certainly like to ask her if I were involved in the investigation. Well, for one thing, this is new, this theory that I'm just hearing now about possibly she and her husband were date rape drugged. Women that I've interviewed that were drugged and then subsequently assaulted can state unequivocally that they were drugged, and they can describe symptoms and behaviors that they went through that would lead a reasonable person, at least when they woke up, to say, man, I was drugged. Another question I have is, why target a woman to drug and probably sexually assault in the company of a young, strong husband. There's plenty of single women on cruise ships. She said, my understanding is she woke up in the morning and her husband wasn't around. She went to exercise. I agree. I don't think, let's say for the sake of argument, that just this discussion, that somehow or other she's involved. I agree she could not have gotten her husband over that rail. But one thing that concerns me very much is the blood stain on the tarp on the dinghy is the outline of a human. There's a blood pool where a bleeding heart would have been, and there is no smearing on that stain, as if, for imagine, somebody reached up, grabbed him by the ankles, pulled him down. There's just no smearing. What it looks like to me is that body, if that was a body, was actually picked up, and that would take at least 2 strong people to do that. Pick up that body and then throw it overboard.
Why don't you think then there would be some sort of imprint from shoes, something? There's a lot of blood there. You think it'd be pretty hard to move this guy around and not leave some sort of trace?
Well, unless you had a couple of people to do it. And of course, for all we know, this is not a blood stain. I mean, we may never know what actually happened here. But there's a tremendous amount of things that still need to be answered. And there's, of course, the report that the young newlyweds were at one of the ship's bars and were arguing. Now, I don't know if this is valid or not. Were arguing, and she kneed him in the groin. If that is an accurate account of what somebody saw, there was trouble in paradise here, as there frequently can be with newlyweds. And then we have the report of the neighbor on the opposite side of their stateroom who heard more than one male voice in the room, neighbor two flights down who heard the thud, and yet the wife says she was asleep. She didn't say, I was passed out. She didn't say, I was drugged. She said, I was asleep. Yeah. How did she sleep through something that other people were awakened by? That's a question I have.
Well, yeah, even if you're pretty loaded, there's probably going to be a different conversation in the morning than gee, I just slept through it and had too much to drink and don't know what happened.
Sure, most young people would say, hey, I got drunk and passed out.
Yeah. Charles, let me ask you about this. It doesn't sound, now that we've gotten in the midst of an investigation like this, that much on cruise ships get reported or get prosecuted if things go wrong.
Well, I've been handling these cases for more than 30 years, and my experiences are no prosecutions, that the evidence is not collected properly, it disappears. There's just not enough there for the FBI to do anything. And the statistics that I've talked about before are that we were able to find through discovery, multiple court orders, is that out of 173 sexual assaults on one cruise line, not one person was prosecuted. And that to me is really shocking. And with my background in these kind of cases, I've never handled criminal cases, so I don't really know a lot about what goes on in those cases, but I've handled a lot of cruise line cases over these 30 years. And I have handled almost the identical case to this one. The only difference is, in the case I handled, it was just the wife who was drugged. The husband continued on in the casino to gamble while his wife was being gang raped. My theory in this case is that both the husband and the wife were drugged, and perhaps because he's a big guy, and maybe it didn't keep him knocked out the entire time, he came to. The people who were raping the wife see there's a witness, kill him and toss him over the side.
But why, given that scenario, wouldn't she come forward and talk about this sort of thing? Because she's going to have an idea that something went wrong that night.
Well, maybe she has. We don't know what she's told to the ship, to law enforcement, to her parents. She just hasn't talked to the outside world, but that's her right. Or maybe she's upset and disturbed. Maybe she has no memory of it. All I know is we're all simply speculating, what we hear third hand. But what I do know is this fits a pattern of cases that I have actually handled.
What usually happens? What usually happens with these cases? Payoffs, or they just literally go away?
Well, I don't like to use the term payoff, but what happens is the cruise lines very quickly will settle. Confidentiality clauses are inserted, at least to the amount of the settlement, and they just go away. And there are no there are no criminal consequences whatsoever, and that's what I think is really really shocking here. Yeah. The cruise lines know that their crew members are aware of the fact that nothing bad will happen to them if they rape a passenger, except maybe they get fired.
Absolutely.
And they've done internal studies on that. It took me 3 court orders to get that study called the Sexual Awareness Task Force Report. Specifically states in there that the crew members know they can rape passengers with impunity.
Wow.
I don't know if they use the word impunity.
Well, that's going to have to be our...
It's a bad situation.
Yeah, our last word. You won't use impunity, I won't use payoff. All right, Candace DeLong, Charles Lipcon, thanks very much. And Tim Green got a report tonight. And remember, Current Affairs, 6:30, New York City. More info then. Now, coming up next, we've got Scott Peterson's first public...